BooBaes.
Hi.
Hello, and welcome to
BooBaes.
BooBaes. That's right. We're your hosts,
I'm Joshua.
and I'm Caitlin, and we're here to talk to you about.
A shithole of a movie.
That's right. That's what I would. You stole the words right out of my mouth. But not to you.
No, not to me, but that's okay because today you're gonna get two sides of the coin. We got some opposing views today, but as always, those are welcome because today we're gonna be talking about Insidious.
Yes, Insidious, 2010, directed by James Wan.
Created by Leigh Whannell. Leigh, call us. Be on the podcast.
Let us know.
Yeah, so that way we can settle this. And
What if his name was Leigh?
Right? Oh Lord, we're just getting all. I'm sorry, Leigh, Whannell.
Anal.
I'm gonna have to find a YouTube video with like a, that's how sometimes I'll figure out how to pronounce someone's name when you find them like with an interviewer and then they say their name. I'm like, okay, thank you.
I did think about doing that for his last name, and then I was like,
I don't even
care
like the
enough.
movie.
Yeah.
But we've seen this duo together.
Yeah, definitely not the first time.
With Saw.
Yeah.
They've obviously worked continuously with the Insidious franchise and then a few other movies as well. One of them being one that I didn't know that he was even a part of. But anyways, long story short, he's in the game. We're making movies. And,
making movies that we've seen before.
And this one is... well, I guess we'll just get right into it. So we can just start, seeing your opinion and my opinion and see where it takes us.
Yeah. If you don't remember, I have long time of this podcast, like during the whole duration of the podcast, have talked about how I disliked this film. And I was hoping that maybe while watching it again,
you could take away something different.
Yeah. And come away with, I just can't get past Darth Maul. The thing looks like Darth Maul to me.
I will say that
it's comical.
Back in the day, for some reason, I remembered it being a bit more menacing. And now that I looked at it, I was like, that's the man with paint on him.
Yeah.
but yes.
Yeah.
I can see where that comes from. Yeah.
And then we all know I'm not a fan of faces being shown. It's much creepier when it's just an apparition or something like that floating on by. Like the little kid running through the house in that one scene. That was terrifying until he popped out of the thing. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
That
more comical than.
Yeah.
I can see.
But I don't know. And then just the figure standing in the corner whenever the mom, Lorraine, said that she had seen him and it just pointed. Yeah, that was creepy. That was creepy. But once they show his face like right behind the dad's head, I was like, I audibly laughed out loud.
Like brings you in and takes you out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's just, and like the two girls that the one ghost hunter guy sees, Tucker, and whenever they just tilt their head and it has the like strings behind it, like eek! It's just, that was stupid.
See, and those are the things that I love about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just can't get behind it. I don't know. It was too kitschy, but it felt like it wasn't in on it. It was like trying to be serious and then had these moments where I was like, okay, well, you've lost me. Yeah. And that's kind of how I feel about the Paranormal Activity films as well. I'm not a fan of those either.
I don't like those.
Yeah.
But I also don't like camera movement.
Whatever. Oh yeah, you're not a fan of found footage.
Yeah. And that's your favorite.
Yeah.
It's literally your favorite, and it's like literally my least favorite.
Yeah.
But
so you get a wide variety. We're not just going to agree on everything, which is good. Well, it's healthy.
And that's
It'd be weird if we did.
The thing about horror too is that there are so many subgenres within horror as well. So there's just so many ways that like, and then then those start to like, because then this movie too, what I really took away from it, or what I really liked about it, is it wasn't just like a like possession movie or a paranormal movie. It was also like a superpower movie, because he has this like power to like astral project.
Yeah,
like so
which
like,
that was cool. I will give it props. I do think that it was an original kind of take on a movie, which, and then
or like a mixing of
ideas, yeah. And it wasn't just, you know, it played into the supernatural realm and all of those things, and astral projection is a very real thing in my opinion. And you know, oftentimes I've like read books and stuff too where people would astral project and they would go too far, and then they would talk about, you know, you can't go too far because then your body's just left wide open.
You think those are
kind of thing.
You think that those are the Christians that like die and go see heaven or hell, but then they're like come back and they think it was like
a religious experience,
but it was really just them astral projecting?
Yeah, probably.
Interesting. Anyways,
like with near-death experiences, yeah, because they always say that they're floating over their body,
yeah,
and can see like, it.
And or they see certain things, or I don't know. Maybe it's that the version of seeing the light. You know what I mean? I see the light. But anyways, astral projection, yeah, it's a really cool concept because they're mixing a few different ideas and kind of making like a fusion of genres. And but yeah, I do, even in the opening, like we're gonna get into it. It
reminded me of Poltergeist.
I can see.
But with astral projection rather than being actually taken to a different realm.
Because of the little kid, and then they're trying to save the child. That makes sense. The opening, I didn't remember that the opening was like this, and I didn't really care for it.
What, with the astral projection?
No, the credits, and then
and the title card.
And the title card.
The title card was so... it was... I think it would have been an okay thing to do had it like really led up to it. But like the scene itself, you could barely see the woman in the reflection,
the lady in black.
And like if they would have maybe leaned into it more there, and like really had her rush the screen or something, and then went into that Insidious with the giant strings and everything behind it, that would have been a little more understandable and believable. But it didn't lead up to it, so it just kind of left it with this like, okay, why is this title card so fucking intense?
Yeah
Because it was. And at the end too.
Yeah, I liked it at the end because then it kind of makes sense.
It made a little more sense.
Yeah, and then it was like, they should have just saved it for the end only. That
and not have had a title card at the beginning.
I did kind of like how it started with the light bulb and then it went around. And
with James Wan's name on it. Yeah, that was cool.
But then to me, the opening credit scene with the like all the still images and then like apparitions kind of popping in and out a little bit. I don't know why, but that part very much gave like, this is comical. This is funny. Like what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's
I liked the one with the chair moving out on its own. I thought that one was kind of,
you know what it gave?
American Horror Story.
Yes, that's what I was just. That's literally what I was thinking. It gave like wannabe American Horror Story.
Yeah, but not even as, because the American Horror Stories intros are good.
Those are usually better than the entire seasons.
Yeah, exactly. Like especially for Murder House, that opening was so creepy, and then Murder House itself wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't
super creepy, but the opening was like, ugh.
Yeah,
like it had a lot of disturbing scenes on it, where I was just like, that creeps me out.
Like the asylum one too, like where it has the lady like walking backwards up the stairs.
Yeah.
That's scary. But anyways, I digress. We're starting with, all of our credits. We saw Josh at the beginning. He's sleeping. We saw kind of a lot of foreshadowing and
he's kind of wispy too. So it's like, as we see, because we get this scene a lot, three times I think in the movie.
So like, and what I was gonna say is like, it's like a foreshadowing, but what we find out is actually flashbacks.
Yeah,
when he was a kid. Josh, our older protagonist. I guess he's the protagonist. I don't know. Yeah, the dad.
Yeah, the dad. Yeah, he. At first, I thought all of them were Dalton.
Yeah. See. yeah. Same. I thought that was Dalton, but
okay, good.
But like knowing, because I had already seen the movie, right? Yeah, so I already knew what was up. But like in watching it, I'm like, this easily, when I first watched it, I know that I thought like, oh, this is just Dalton, until you get like the twist midway through, like that, like his dad has the same gift as him.
Yeah.
Because the whole time you're thinking like, you're not ever thinking like, oh, the dad has this gift too, or this and that, because they do kind of a good job of making him, he forgot all that shit. But yeah, it's a foreshadowing in a way of like we get to find out later. But
yeah,
we cut to mom waking up.
Yeah.
And she
looks annoyed at dad snoring.
It's got to be like, I don't know, like a Sunday, waking up, we're going downstairs. You can tell that they moved in recently because there's boxes still, and she starts to unpack books and put them on the bookshelf.
Yeah, which that bookshelf it didn't look like it was in a spot that it should like be in. Yeah. It looked like it was blocking a built-in bookshelf in the wall. And I was like, why would you put books on it before moving this bookshelf to its end goal? Or if that was the end goal, then that's a weird spot for a bookshelf.
Yeah, Robert he watched the movie with, he didn't like this house. Because I guess he
in
doesn't
general,
like wood.
The setup.
Yeah. He doesn't like all that much wood.
I thought it was so beautiful with all the wood.
I like the outside of it.
Yeah, the outside
she didn't
nice.
like too much, but see, this is the thing about like, in theory, 2-story or more story houses are like so beautiful and looking to me, but like my sister lives in one, and I guess I've been in other ones, and like having to go up the stairs like every damn day, like that's just like my legs are like, I don't like it. That's
what I live in, a townhome style right now. And so my bed is always upstairs, and that's why a lot of the times I sleep on the couch.
I don't want to have to go upstairs
because I'm like, nope, can't be bothered.
I don't want to go up the stairs. Yeah. But it was a beautiful staircase though. And we had a lot of big beams. Like I did like that. Like big, the wood, chunky wood, like
chunky wood, sturdy, heavy duty wood.
She's putting these books up, sorting them out, but she comes across a photo album. She gets to looking at the photos, and then we have Dalton coming out in his little matching set of pajamas, and telling her that he doesn't like his bedroom. He can't, or I don't know if he doesn't say he can't sleep or anything, but he's just like, Mom, I want to change rooms. I don't like my bedroom.
And she says, yeah, I couldn't sleep either.
That's what it is. Yeah. And he ends up looking at the photos with her, and he's like, or she's like, oh, look, this used to be your mom. Can you believe this used to be me? And he's like, you're old now. What?
Yeah. You have to be at least 21.
Yeah, that's funny. And she's like, I wish that were true.
Yeah, she's like, if only. Yeah, that was entertaining. And then you get, just some cute little shots of them, looking at this photo album and stuff. And then we get our first little hint that dad doesn't have many photos of him as a child, because he says, show me a picture of dad as a kid. And she's like, well, he's really bad at keeping these things, like, and we just don't have any pictures of your dad, really. And then it flashes to her making breakfast for the kids, right?
Yeah, they're having breakfast. The little Foster's eating his Cheerios on the floor, and she's trying to talk to the bill collectors.
And dad, she's like running the show, and dad's just upstairs worrying about his grays and stuff. And I was like, dude, you're really not helping.
No,
like,
he wasn't.
He was a very hands-off dad.
Yeah.
It was kind of odd to me that he was the saving factor in all this, because I was like, he wasn't super present, or he was just like there. He was like the fun parent.
Yeah, I can see that. Or maybe, I mean, it definitely gave like kind of more old school vibes, where like she was stay-at-home mom and he was like, homemaker. Okay, honey, and then like, pets the son on the head. Bye, folks, gonna leave. Yeah,
grabs a piece of fruit.
That's waxy fruit, not even real fruit.
Yeah.
But yeah, all this is going on. It seems a bit chaotic, Yeah,
but I guess that's what
most families feel like in the morning.
Yeah,
like big families,
and especially when you're trying to get them up for school and stuff. And she even says like, are you taking the kids to school? And he's like, no, I can't, I got a PTA meeting, blah blah blah. And whenever this fool pulled up at like 11:27 p.m. at night, and I was like, you are a school teacher. What the fuck are you doing?
Robert said the exact same thing. He was like, what? Like,
I was like, this man's cheating
for so many hours. That's the side plot.
Yeah. That's why he gets possessed.
But we have,
spoiler alert,
right? We have him leaving for work, and then mom ends up going, I guess after she dropped all the kids off and everything's happening, mom is at home. She's on the piano. She's singing. Apparently we get kind of like, I guess in some sort of way is in the music industry or like composes or writes things to make money,
music,
and she just hasn't been working. I guess I don't know. We don't get any elaboration because we find out later on that things were supposed to be better because they moved here, and like I don't know if someone cheated or if like she had postpartum or because she has that baby, like the baby's fairly new. Just
it doesn't really elaborate as to why things needed to be better.
But it definitely makes it seem though like she's kind of lost her mojo in a way, if that makes sense, and she's trying to find that, and so she's doing her little thing on the piano, and then the baby starts crying. So we,
of course, over the baby monitor, which is just baby monitors freak me out.
Oh, do they?
Because there's been so many. I've listened to a lot of ghost podcasts.
Oh, okay.
And there's so many stories of like parents hearing or seeing things over the baby monitor, and like TikToks that I've seen, and I'm just like, nope.
I need to look that up.
Freaks me out. I would rather just carry the baby 24/7 and have baby with me, other than trying to listen to a baby monitor, because that shit scares me.
And I guess they do pick up interference too, don't they? I mean, I don't know how close in range they have to be with other baby monitors, but
I would shit a brick.
Do they pick up other types of radio frequencies too? Like,
yeah, I think like truckers and stuff too.
Okay. But yeah, that's wild. And also, like, how does that work? Because how are you sending sound through the air? What we're doing right now.
Radio waves.
What? It's so crazy. Anyways, all right.
It just blows my mind whenever I try to think too hard about how all this shit was created.
Wi-Fi?
Yeah.
Oh, and then like
we
were talking
in general.
Were you there the other day? I don't know if you were. I think that was when we were at that one day, and Robert and everybody, we were all kind of getting a little too mind fucked by like photos. Like, how are you telling me that like we're capturing an image? Like, with what? How?
Yeah.
Like, what? And especially digitally, like, that's crazy.
Yeah. It is weird.
Whoa.
You can't think too hard about these things.
No.
We're meant to be dummies.
We're in the Matrix.
We're real. Stupid.
And so we have her then going to the attic. It seems
because she hears noises, right?
That's right. Yeah.
There's definitely some sound coming from up there.
Because it lures her up there. And she goes up there and she's basically kind of exploring, because then she's, looking in there. We're seeing that the there's a ladder with a broken little a rung, and then the furnace comes on, right?
Yeah, furnace pops on, which is kind of like a little spooky.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, being in an attic or a basement and it's dark, because she just has the flashlight.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of spooky.
She turned the light on for a second, but then I would have been like, nope, this light's staying off until husband comes home. Then he can turn it off.
And we then have it being nighttime, apparently. It's like already nighttime. It's family time.
Dad comes home. Everyone's playing.
We're in the living room.
She's asking, like, have you seen my box of sheet music and stuff? Because I can't find it anywhere. She was pretty grumpy about it.
Yeah. And obviously they're like, no, I haven't seen it.
Dad, again, is seemingly kind of uncaring.
And I think
he just pissed me off.
Yeah. I think you just don't like the daddy. And
I like Patrick Wilson, though.
Do you?
Yeah.
See, something about Patrick Wilson kind of like scares me a bit. I don't know what it is.
I like him enough as Ed.
No, I've seen him like in everything. It kind of, I don't know what it is. I think he's a fine actor. Like, he does well in the roles, but like something
pastor vibes.
Something about him scares me.
Yeah, he's got a secret.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Sorry, but I like him in the movies. That's fine. But also maybe that's also good.
I don't know of his character at all, so I don't think I like him as a person, because I don't know anything about him. But as an actor, I think he's fine.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know.
But I can totally see what you mean.
It's weird. And I've always felt that way. I don't know why. It's really weird. But anyways, I'm sure he's a fine person. Who knows? But anyways, we have Dalton exploring, and he goes upstairs to the attic. Does he hear something as well, or is it just that the door opens?
The attic door opens.
Right? Okay, yeah.
And then he's like, let me just go up to this door that just opened by itself. Absolutely the fuck not.
And he goes up there. It's dark. And he's looking around. He has, did he have a little cape on? I don't know. Or am I imagining that? I don't think he had a cape on. But anyways, he's exploring.
I'm not sure. He might have.
And he ends up trying to go up to the ladder. to turn on the light switch thing.
Yeah, because the light switch is really high up.
And it's got one of those little dingly.
So high up that even Mom needed the ladder.
Yeah. So he would have had to go on higher. That is unsafe for a child.
Yeah.
But anyways, he ends up falling off of it because obviously the rung was broken. And when he falls back, he honestly hit his head pretty hard.
Yeah, he did.
And he ends up hearing this noise next to him coming from the darkness. And we don't get to see what he sees, but his eyes get really big and wide. And he just starts, we're back with the family downstairs and they can just hear him screaming.
Yeah. And so we, again, never see what he saw, but... we do get that he's obviously scared. And so the parents, of course, come running up and they're checking him out. And they're like, oh, my God, are you okay? What's going on? And, they discover he bumped his head a bit and his leg was hurting.
Pretty normal reaction.
Yeah. To falling off a ladder, little kids do that.
And they overscare themselves.
Yeah. And so they're basically just checking on him. And as they stand up, we see the sheet music box in the corner as Dad's taking Dalton back downstairs.
And Renee's like, well, that's fucking weird.
Yeah. And
I think, did we already miss the part, or it's going to come up when she's like, if y'all want to read my books, make sure you put them back. I think that was at breakfast that we missed earlier. Yeah. But so we already got this like inclination that things are kind of moving around in the house that she don't know. We don't know why they're moving.
Yeah. Things are happening that shouldn't be happening.
And she's thinking like
a poltergeist.
And she's thinking like my kids are fucking around, like, stop messing with my stuff, and because that's the rational, because obviously she's not thinking already like
no one's mind immediately goes to ghost except for me.
Yeah.
I was like, mine actually does all the time. I'm like, oh, that's a ghost.
Yeah. But we end up going to bed. Everything was okay. Mom and Dad are talking, kind of having bed pillow talk before going to bed.
Yeah, it was really cute little banter between them, and I felt like this scene kind of like humanized them and showed their bond a bit, although it does seem to be
like a little cheesy, forced,
different. No.
Oh, okay.
I didn't think that. I thought it was cute.
Okay.
It's such a different bond that they're showing here than what they show the rest of the movie.
I feel you. Yeah.
So the rest of the movie, it's very tense.
And they feel like super connected here. Whereas the rest of the movie, it's like they're both they're disconnected. I mean, she, to the point where she has to be like, you're not here with me mentally. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, it does kind of show through a little bit whenever she's calling him back to his body. But then like maybe that's why he doesn't actually make it back to his body, because their bond isn't super strong enough. Yeah. I don't know, but it was a good scene. I thought it humanized them and did well.
As we watch the other movies, you'll because you haven't seen the other movies, right? Because
I've only seen I've seen parts of 2.
Oh, okay.
But it was at a party and it was on.
Right. That's right. In the background.
Yeah. And so like I remember some scenes of there's like an old lady in it, right? Yeah. And I remember like some scenes of an old lady, but I was also like, this was one of those parties where I went into the bathroom, threw up so I could drink more. Yeah. Kind of thing. Yeah, so I was like gone.
We weren't watching a movie.
Yeah.
We were watching a movie, but we weren't.
It was, I will have to give it props though, because I do remember like actually wanting to watch it. Like people kept trying to talk to me and I was like, can't you see I'm fucking doing something? I'm watching this movie right now. Give me some more.
Give me more. But yeah, no, because it's a continuation. Yeah, but I meant like when we watch the other ones, you'll kind of see like their relation. Like I feel like this makes sense. It'll make sense. But
I'm intrigued.
But anyways, I digress. We have the next day already. We have them getting ready for work again, for school.
And we see something outside of Dalton's window, right?
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
there's like something that's there, or it looks like it's like formed with the tree. Like the tree, it's very poltergeist,
ominous-y and spooky, and like
the little boy with his tree outside his window and poltergeist. Yeah,
that's true. And then it comes and tries to attack them. That's right. I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that tree actually was scary.
Yeah, we have Mom telling what's his name, Dad, Josh. Oh my gosh, that's my fucking name. Why couldn't I remember it?
Yeah, for real. I was like, you mean your name?
Renee telling Josh, can you go wake up Dalton? He's not up yet. And so he goes to go wake up Dalton. And this right here, honestly, is a horror movie in itself, because I feel like, oh my God, this is why I don't have kids.
No, I thought that multiple times throughout this film, was thinking like, oh my God, having a kid must be so hard.
Yeah, no,
just anything that could happen, and then just having to live through like
with it.
Looking at the mom whenever she was just like breaking down and stuff. Yeah. And stuff. I was like, oh my God, it broke my heart. Yeah.
Cause and this right here is like, imagine like going up and like the love of your life, because people are supposed to love their kids like that, I guess, not much, but like it's just like not like responding, and they're like, oh my God,
just like a lifeless body. Yeah,
that's so scary. Terrifying. So Josh obviously goes up and he thinks like, what any parent thinks, like, they're sleeping so hard.
Sleepyhead.
Yeah,
get out of bed.
He's trying to wake him up, and then quickly it turns to just panic, because Josh is not waking up. He's not responding. He looks
Dalton's
dead.
Not waking up. Yeah,
Dalton. Yeah, he looks dead.
Yeah, he does.
And so
he checks his
pulse and everything.
Yeah, puts his hand on his chest and stuff, make sure he's breathing.
Yeah.
And I guess thankfully figures out that he's breathing.
He's just not responding. Yeah.
Then we flash.
Almost even scarier.
Yeah. Because then you're like, what is going on?
Have no idea. And so we show up to the doctor. We're at the hospital.
Yeah, the hospital, and the doctor's basically explaining that they've never seen anything like this before. All of his brain scans came back normal. There's like pretty much no reason he should be in a coma, but he is. And then eventually the doctors stop calling it a coma.
Yeah.
They're just like, we don't know what it is.
They don't have any medical explanation for it.
Yeah. And they're basically like, he should wake up soon.
He should wake up, but he's just not. And eventually it goes to them being 3 months later back at home with like a home hospice type of care.
Yep. He's set up in his little room on the nurse is basically explaining how to install the feeding tube, I think, and everything like that, and just going through teaching the mom how to care for Dalton in these times. And it's been 3 months, and Dalton's still not awake, which
I totally had the thought
of so hard.
It's so hard for a parent, and I had the thought of like, at some point, I'm pretty sure it's 3 months, so like maybe at some point the doctors, I'm sure, gave them the option of like, we can pull the plug or you can take him home. And like, to imagine the thought of them being like pulling the plug while this little boy wasn't even like, he's just unfortunately
he's just floating around somewhere,
stuck in prison, in the demon prison somewhere for a while. But that's wild. That's just wild. Because anyway, so Dalton
I wouldn't have given up hope if they had told me the brain scans were normal. I would have been like, no. There's got to be some way that
he'll come back, or we'll wait. But that is just like, that's crazy. But anyways, and also like, I couldn't imagine how fucking expensive their bills are gonna be.
Ooh, yeah.
Because like,
and that's like when the dad says I have to pay for Dalton's medical bills, and it's like, you don't get paid overtime for being a teacher.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Or after hours.
Yeah.
Those many.
They don't
hours,
pay you per test you grade.
I think also that it comes psychologically too. I don't necessarily think he's a bad dad per se, but I do think because of, like she even said, his avoidant issues, like I think he just has no what's the word, like he doesn't have a good coping mechanism, like a productive coping mechanism. Like he just shuts down, and maybe he was just so like, I don't even want to go home and deal with that, I'm just gonna stay here. But anyways, we have mom. I think she's at the piano again, right? And she's obviously having a hard time trying to come up with something, and she starts hearing something on the baby monitor.
Yeah, and it's all like very minor keys and stuff.
Oh, very sad.
Yeah, it's not happy, and it doesn't sound. Not that her song earlier sounded super happy, but
you can tell
was at least moody, a little bit more upbeat. Yeah, this one was like falling apart.
And Rose Byrne and I guess the makeup department, they do a really good job of like, this woman looks like haggard. She's been through it. She's probably depressed because her son's like in a freaking coma upstairs, and she's got this baby she's
got bags under her eyes and stuff
because of the ghost. Her baby just like they won't let the baby sleep, so it's crying all the time. And so
speaking of which, the monitor goes off. And is the baby crying or
not yet? No. What she hears is like
she's hearing like whispering, and it's like, yeah, she turns it up and it says, give me it. I want it now. Give me it. Give it to me. Give me it. Blah, blah, blah. I want it
and
now.
As she's getting closer to like, looking up at the stairs and trying to see at the room and stuff. And I love how she's just kind of like there were, I like how she's waiting for there to be a problem. At the minute that I hear like whispers coming from the baby monitor, I think she would have been like going up there. But maybe she wanted that element of surprise. I don't know. But yes, they ends up yelling in the baby monitor to where I'm pretty sure she heard it. She heard it like
both ways.
Yeah, right. Okay, it wasn't just like us hearing.
That's what it seemed like.
Yeah, and so obviously she gets so spooked that she drops the baby monitor and she runs upstairs, but there's nobody in the bedroom with her baby. And then obviously Callie, she starts crying. And I kind of wondered, was Callie short for something? But we never got it. But anyways, she's crying, and obviously mom is she's super confused because she doesn't see anybody in the room, and she like even opens the closet, right?
She checks behind the door, opens the closet. She's looking all around. She can't figure out where in the world this noise came from, and so she's like, "Am I going crazy? Yeah. What is happening?"
All very valid.
Yeah, and she even discusses that with the dad later. She was like, "The craziest thing happened to me. Like, I heard these sounds," and he was like, "Oh, it's probably just interference and stuff." And she was like, "No, it felt pretty real. Like it was so clear."
And that's when she brings up this about like, and things, I've noticed things have been kind of moving in the house that I don't put them there, but they end up somewhere else. And it all ties in perfectly because we're about to get there actually.
I think it like was about,
because the only scene before this is she's talking to Foster in the bed, and
Foster says, this line creeped me out.
Yeah,
when he was like, "Can I move rooms? I don't like sleeping next to Dalton's room." And he says, "I don't like when he walks around at night."
And the mom's
I was like, what?
And the mom is definitely like, I love how she doesn't even ask
question.
Him,
like, what do you mean?
Yeah, like,
what do you mean he's walking around
at what
night?
time specifically? And also, yeah, that was just really weird and spooky. Yeah, and because then I'm thinking like, why wouldn't she then like? Why aren't we just? Because obviously we go to
post up in front of Dalton's room.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Because obviously we go to the next scene and they're getting ready for bed and she's just about to go to bed.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, no, I would have been like, okay.
Had cameras.
Like what is going on? Like what?
Everything. Anyways, trying to figure it out. And then I also had to wonder if it was Dalton actually moving himself, or if it was like that little kid spirit moving around. And it was just, Foster lurking near
thought it was him.
Dalton's room. Yeah, and Foster, just the only thing he could logically think of was it being Dalton.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yes, so and then that scene mulls over, even though I feel like it should have been a bigger deal. And that's when we're with her and the daddy, and they're having the conversation about like the baby monitor and the things moving. And it's kind of perfectly timed because as she's bringing all this stuff up, and he's basically trying to like rationalize or be like I'm sorry that this is happening, because she's also mentioning how like the baby won't go to sleep and is just crying, and she's just been really moody because of that.
She hasn't been able to get anything done, and it was supposed to be different, but it's not.
We get the banging
on the front door,
and he's like, "Who the hell is that at this hour?" And that's whenever he tells her to stay in the bed. He's gonna go check it out, and so he goes downstairs and he's doing a little investigating. And
his door wasn't locked to begin with, which was a red flag.
Yeah, and I feel like this as well is kind of, I feel, more of the start for me, unless I didn't pick it up earlier in the film, where the film starts taking more of a grayscale. Because throughout the rest of the movie it's very, very gray, whereas like the only colors that really pop through are the red or like a light blue that would sometimes, but it was very grayscale. I don't know if you noticed that at all.
I noticed it especially when they're in the further and like in the room and everything was like blue at that point. But yeah, I mean the movie did have a gray tone to it. I just can't remember if it was kind of always like that or if what
colors were really taken out, like washed out.
Yeah, almost like a sepia, however it's said.
But yes, he's investigating. He's like, well, and nobody's at the. Also, it's a big ass door.
That door was huge front door, perfect for moving couches through.
Yeah. Definitely wheelchair accessible.
Yeah.
But he's looking. can't see anything, and so he's at one point I think he grabs something like a fire stoker thingy, whatever.
He grabs a flashlight.
Is it a flashlight?
And he looks out the window.
Oh, that's later. I'm sorry. That's when Renee grabs.
Yeah, the hockey stick.
Something. Okay, yeah. But he's looking around through the house, and he doesn't see anything. But then I think he ends up going upstairs, right?
Mm-hmm. And he locks the door back and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then he goes upstairs.
Oh, because Renee screams because she goes to the baby Callie's room and she thinks she sees.
She sees someone behind the bed.
Yeah, the curtain.
Yeah,
that's what it is. And then he goes up there. They're not there, obviously, and that's whenever the alarm goes off.
And then he gets back downstairs and the front door is wide open after he just locked it.
And the little chain is swinging.
Yeah. And the alarm's blaring. And then he shuts it again. Mm-hmm. And he gets back upstairs or something, right? And then the door just keeps opening. Mm-hmm. Something else happens where...
He's just investigating for the most part. But then it's just kind of like next day and he's at work.
Yeah, and this is where he pulls up at 11:27 or whatever, and I was like, "That's getting home awful late for a teacher."
Yeah. Oh, and on this part, because it's the next day, and he's at work. Whenever he's in front of that chalkboard and he's on the phone with her, James Wan and a bunch of other producers, I think, their names were written on the board as if they were students in trouble. And if you look behind him, Jigsaw is drawn on the board.
Oh, cool.
Did you notice it at all?
No.
I never noticed that when I first watched the movie, and then Robert pointed it out, and I was like, oh, I didn't even see that. He's literally, here's Patrick Wilson's face on the phone with Renee, or telling her hey, I'm gonna be home late, and it's Jigsaw this big on the chalkboard.
Wow.
It wasn't even small. It was huge.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I definitely wasn't paying attention to the chalkboard behind him.
And then this is where we get him kind of having these flashbacks as well. But,
yeah.
BooBaes.
And now, a word from our sponsors. BooBaes. And now, a word from our sponsors.
And then, so he's getting home late. That's cool that all that stuff was behind him.
Mm-hmm.
I want to go back and pause it now.
And
which I did watch this movie for, well, I didn't have to pay extra for it. But I watched it on HBO Max. Where did you watch it?
HBO Max, I believe so. Yeah.
Watched it in the same spot.
Yeah.
So technically it wasn't free because we pay for that streaming service.
But yeah.
But it was nice to... So I'll be able to go back and
they have
rewatch it.
They have that one there.
Yeah, and I saw that they had Insidious Chapter 2 as well. So
the only one that I think you might have to, but you shouldn't. We'll just give you Robert's login. Honestly, is because we bought it. We didn't rent it. We bought the newer one, the newest one, because it's still it's still new to where it's streaming, but it's not like free streaming. I think it's on Prime for like renting or something.
Okay.
And so we have Josh. He got home late, and this is whenever Renee, because a while ago she was talking with that nurse. She had the breakdown, and then the nurse was gonna, which honestly is probably good that the nurse didn't change the sheets, because then I feel like CPS would have been called.
Yeah.
But Renee is trying to change the sheets on Dalton's bed, and she notices that there's just like this creepy ass red handprint, like blood stain on the on his sheet. And so this obviously freaks her the fuck out. And then whenever Josh gets home late again, because
he got home late,
this is probably like
at 11:27.
That's probably been the whole week.
And then she kind of like heard him come in, and then the next day where they were at the bed side, and then that night he comes home and she's sitting on the front porch waiting for him, and she's like, it's 10:30, like what the fuck have you been doing? And
he's trying to be like, I was grading tests, and she's like, never in your all these years of you teaching have you had to stay like this late ever,
like and he's like, I'm trying to pay Dalton's medical bills, and she was like, no, you're avoiding this. And then they just kind of get into a fight, and she's saying like, because she's saying there's something about this house that they need to get out of there, and he was like, you're saying the house is haunted? She goes, no, I know the house is haunted, kind of thing, because she keeps seeing things. And then she hands him that bloody handprint sheet and says, deal with this.
I love how she did that.
Yeah, I was like, damn, bitch.
And so it ends up, and then at this point we go to Dalton's room, and this is when we get hands on his window.
Yeah.
Through the middle of the night. So definitely something is after Dalton. And then this is whenever we get Renee waking up in the middle of the night. I guess, I don't know if that was her nightmare or it was happening, and then just coincidentally she was having some sort of nightmare, because she wakes up screaming in the middle of the night.
Yeah, because it looked like we were having a dream sequence, like one of the ones of like the flashback, like of the astral projection of like dreaming of Dalton, because I put dreaming of Dalton in his room, but it wasn't Dalton, it was Josh. It was the same flashback as the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was the dad dreaming at first, because they had just shown him on the couch. Yeah. And then all of a sudden Renee wakes up screaming.
Yeah.
After the bloody handprint things. And this part was creepy.
Oh yeah, because she's just like waking up from this like state of like terror, and she's just kind of laying, and she's sitting upright in bed, and then we see this ghost figure walking outside of the window.
Yeah, like, or it could have been a real, I mean, and we know it's a ghost. Yeah, but to her, it
could have been like
could have been a real person
that's
up
even
there.
Scarier.
Yeah.
And so she's like, what the fuck? And she's just trying to be like, she's trying to scream Josh without like, being so like noticeable, and she's like, Josh, and then the guy just fucking comes, operates like through
the wall,
Well, he doesn't come through the wall. What it is like he's pacing out there, and then all of a sudden for her visual, he's like inside and
pacing.
Then looks at her, and then just starts to like come after her. But what was so funny to me is his like Like he's like squealing coming towards her. And so sorry to use the guys with headphones. And so she ends up ending, backing up and ending up on the floor. She's like screaming and crying in terror. Josh at this point wakes up because she's screaming. The baby is crying. And
everyone's crying
at this point.
And then she's just begging Josh to leave. She's like, I want to get out of here. We need to get out of here.
And she's like, don't you dare not believe me. Like, we need to go. I want to leave.
There's someone just in here right now. Like, we need to get out of here. And he's like, okay, I believe you. And she's like, not another night. And so then we flash to them moving houses.
Because apparently it is that easy.
Yep, to just up and leave your house in the middle of the night.
And find a new house.
Yep.
And be in that one. Because I was like, this is the most unrealistic part of this movie is how much and also too, didn't y'all just buy this house? Like, is that a
money's
thing?
tied up in it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can resell the house and then refinance your mortgage and get that loan basically to apply to a new house. But it's not an overnight process by any means.
So we have her anyways unpacking with Josh's mom, who is kind of a little pointed, I feel like. And even when she's like, honey, the way you look, you deserve rest or something like that. Or something like that.
I was like, what an understanding mother-in-law. She's so kind.
And I was taking it as like, damn, she's saying she tore up.
Well, yeah, I mean, that line, yeah. But it seemed like she was being more in the caring aspect.
At one point, I thought, I was like, is she trying to put a move on her?
Oh. Yeah, she was a little touchy.
Yeah. But they're having this conversation, and yeah, you're right. I mean, because she's being what you're going through, it's nobody understands how you're feeling. You deserve to feel however you feel kind of situation. Your feelings are valid.
And understanding why she understood why they had to get up and leave houses in the middle of the night and stuff too, which I was like, I feel like most people would be like, you're crazy.
Which we're over here that's crazy.
Yeah.
But they end up talking about how because the mother, what's Lorraine? Yeah, Lorraine. I love how her name's Lorraine, and then you have the other movies with Patrick Wilson as Lorraine and Ed. Yeah. But anyways, she starts to mention about how she is surprised that she got Josh to stay still for a photo because he took a photo, and we've already gotten hints that Josh does not like his photos taken. And the mom is being really you can tell something's up because she's acting weird.
She seemed a little cryptic with it because of the way that she just, but then again I was thinking well, I mean, I guess it is nice to have a photo of your son, and if he really didn't like posing for photos and stuff, then maybe that's why she's so sentimental about this photo and staring at it for so long. But she probably was looking for a lady in the background.
True that. Oh, I didn't think about that. You're right. And so we have mom now. I guess, kids are at school. Dad's at work. So she's cleaning around the house. She's
picking up a whole ass Cheetos and shit from the kid's bed.
What was I about to call him? Topher. Not Topher.
Topher.
I knew a Topher. Foster. You knew a Topher?
Yeah.
I never knew a Topher.
His full name was Christopher. But instead of going by Chris, he went by Topher.
Huh. That's interesting.
Isn't it?
That makes sense. Yeah. I guess, yeah. I don't know. Are all Tophers and Christophers and we just don't know?
Maybe. I've never met another Topher.
Well, there's that Topher guy from That 70s Show, right? Topher, the dude who plays the main guy. I think his first name is Topher.
Oh.
Something Topher. Or it's Topher something. But anyways, so now I'm thinking is her name actually Christopher? Anyways, all right. So we have her cleaning up, and then she ends up walking by, and we see this little newspaper boy type of 50s.
Yeah, like a Newsies.
Newsies, right? Yeah. Did you notice
Yeah, I was like, who the fuck's standing in the laundry room?
Yeah, I was, and she didn't notice, and she just walks right by, and it does kind of look like maybe a coat hanging or something, but you would know if you had a coat hanging there.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And also, it was a little too low to the ground.
Yeah. It looked like someone standing there.
Yeah.
And a little hat. But anyways, she walks right by, and she ends up grabbing some trash. She's taking it outside to go out, and
at first I thought I was crazy. I was like, did I just picture that? And then I was like, no, there had to have been something there. And then once the record skips, and this is what we've talked about a lot of times before with like
music?
Smile trying to get like lollipop at the end and stuff to like, you know, take a somewhat happy song and then turn it creepy. This film did Tiptoe Through the Tulips well.
Yeah.
I think it makes it creepy, and you can't think of that song now without thinking of Insidious.
Yeah.
So I think they did a good job with that.
The way you look like that's like hurting you to say like they did a good job with that part. But no, I feel like it definitely added to the creep factor because that record starts skipping, and instead of what she was playing, it starts playing what you said, Tiny Tiptoe, which is in itself is a creepy song. And I know
because it's like saying
and before,
out the window.
Yeah. It's creepy lyrics, but also like the demeanor in which he sings it in his little voice, and then like and the ukulele, it's all kind of can be a little menacing. And before this, what I knew it from was from SpongeBob, because it was in SpongeBob. Yeah, we have him playing that song, and then we go inside, and she's like noticing that obviously this whole different ass song is playing, and then she notices like the door starts to open. Before she walks in, it's because she sees him run by, right? Or something?
She sees him dancing.
Oh, okay, yeah, through
at
the window.
Record player.
Oh, that's right.
He's like sitting there like doing a little jig.
Okay, but he's backwards. That's right. Yeah.
Which that part made me be like, come on.
It takes you out of it.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just a little kid trying to have fun, like, and listening to his favorite little creepy song.
Or was it though? Because when you see his face, it's like an old man.
Old man,
face
yeah, that's
on a
true.
Little kid. But anyways, yeah, she's chasing him throughout.
It's Benjamin Button.
It is. She's following where she thinks he is throughout the house, kind of leading him to, not Topher, Foster's room, and then she ends up going into Dalton's room, and we think that he is, hiding underneath a little curtain, but no, he is on top in a cupboard, and he pops out right in front of her, and that's the part you didn't like, because it kind of takes away the like
creepy aspect of.
I get what you mean.
Yeah, I just thought that the whole chase scene throughout the house was much more terrifying than that instance itself.
It was,
although that would scare the shit out of me if something popped out of a little wardrobe in front of me. Like that would scare me.
I feel like that
but whenever it happened, I was just kind of like
I think also too, it would have been a good moment for like them to not have had that jump happen.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because it was creepy enough to just have him disappear, because then it's like, where the fuck did he go?
Yeah, if they would have just left it with her opening up the bottom half of the cupboard, and it only having those shoes there,
and that was it, creepy enough.
I would have been like,
where is he?
Sold.
Where the fuck did he go? Because that's
he didn't
even
have
scarier
to jump out of,
because then you're just like looking your shoulder, like thinking,
yeah.
But anyways, he ends up doing that, and then she's like, whoa, that was the final straw, because now it's not longer like, okay, our house was haunted. It's like something's following us. And so that's when Dad comes home, and we have the priestess here. We have Mom here, and he's like, okay, what's going on? This is the start of a joke or something, right?
And he was like, you walk in with the priest and your wife or something. And
start of a bad joke, right? And then that's whenever we have Lorraine sitting them down and, discussing how she had a dream the night before. She was in this house, and she knew everybody was asleep, but she felt like something was awake and was watching. And so she ended up going to Dalton's room, and that's whenever she sees that figure standing in the corner, which always freaked me out when I first watched it.
Yeah, this part was creepy. And she's just explaining how, like,
she asked him,
and saying like there was something in there with him. It was, I can't unhear what he said, even though like we never heard his voice. We only saw like her retelling, and then him pointing with his long spindly kind of fingers.
How it, it went like
with the creaking. That was creepy. And then it ruins it
for you.
Yes,
I loved it. I like it. It doesn't ruin it for me. I think it adds to it, but it's
I just put opinion. LOL Darth Maul looking ass.
She comes back, from like getting, she's telling them about the dream, and then she looks behind Josh, and the demon is right behind him.
Yeah.
And she's like, and so she knows, she just hops up. She's like, oh my God. And then I think that's whenever they're just kind of like, Josh is like, okay, I guess something is going on. But even at this point, he's like, y'all are
Y'all
crazy.
both crazy.
Yeah.
You're both seeing stuff.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to believe that this place is haunted.
Right. But then that's whenever we
goes,
hear Dalton's room, like
yeah,
making all those noises, and they end up going into his room, and they can't because the door is locked, and obviously something's keeping them out. The doorknob is even like going up and down, whatever. And so as he breaks down the door to the room, and they get in there, and everything is just like
trash.
Everything's
Dalton's
everywhere.
room
His
is
bed on
Dalton
the
is
side.
on the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the place is destroyed, and you can like feel the entity running up the stairs too.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, or running down the hallway to get to it and stuff, which was creepy. And that sucks for Dalton. Poor Dalton.
Literally
just getting thrown around like a little rag doll.
And so at this point, I feel like he's kind of like, okay, something obviously is going on here, and then because this should be like make you believe, right? But then we have them later, and then he has that whole thing where he's like, y'all are exploiting whatever. But I'm like, bro, you saw your kid's room, like, and then like, how explain that, like how else? But anyways, sorry. We have Specs and Tucker who are here. We're introduced. They are inspecting the house because Lorraine, suggested that she knew somebody who could help, but before she can come, these are her, employees that make sure that
they kind of vet the area and make sure that it's actually haunted and not just somebody wanting attention.
Yeah, there you go.
Or the crazies.
The crazies. That's what he says, right? Yeah, it helps weed out the crazies. And so they're checking the house out, and this is whenever Tucker is doing the thing with like all of his inventions that he created, and he's like, it does look like those little toys that
kaleidoscope,
kids play with that have the pictures. And so he's going through the whole house, and he ends up seeing these like this ghost girl behind the clock, like smiling at him,
and the two ladies,
and then the two ladies, and so that's whenever we have him backing up into the living room talking to Specs, who's talking to the parents, and he's like, we can call Elise now. And then Elise arrives. And I actually like, this lady was meant for this role. I don't know, but you don't like her, do you?
I thought her whole interaction whenever she first arrived was very forced, and it felt like I was watching people act.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
Yeah. It didn't feel like, I mean, I think she did a good job later. But especially whenever she first arrived, I was like, this is forced. And it's not a natural feeling scene at all.
Oh, okay. Well, I did get the sense of like, man, she's coming in here really light, and these people are like going through it. And she's like, hi, hello. Oh my God. It's so great to meet you.
Yeah.
Like,
I think she was, trying to make light of the situation, but it felt like she was being fed lines and she was repeating them.
Oh, okay.
It felt like I was watching, like it felt like bad acting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I disagree, but it's okay. And so we have
just mainly in this intro moment. Like later on, I think she does okay.
Yeah.
She wasn't like a standout role, in my opinion, in the film.
It's funny because she gets like 3 other films. It's funny how.
Oh, she doesn't die.
No, she's dead. But because people loved her so much, the rest of their films they're pre what happens in this series. They're prequels. So the third one and the fourth one are prequels, and then this last one that came out brought it back to do 1, 2, and then like the 5th one is actually the third one, if that makes sense. Yeah. But Miss Elise, she's here. She's going to help them out. She's asking them questions. She ends up going to Dalton's room, and she
says, she drops this line saying that I haven't seen you since you were young. And he's like, Wicca, what?
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, I've been friends with your mom for a very long time. Kind of thing, which was like
foreshadowing.
Yeah. Also, Specs and Tucker, that's their name.
Specs and Tucker, yeah.
They annoyed me.
Okay, yeah. They're supposed to be, I feel like, the comedy, the
comedic
levity.
relief, yeah. And it just was like, can y'all, like, their whole interaction also felt forced.
Okay.
Like it didn't belong in the film. Like I would have just rathered them
have maybe not been characters, or just been one together.
Yeah, or just not have talked.
Okay.
Because it was just their dialogue itself wasn't really funny to me. It was more, it felt like Big Bang Theory. Like just annoying.
You're waiting on like a zing, like the little
Yeah, laugh track kind of like, and it just was.
I think they were definitely supposed to play like buffoons.
Yeah,
like the
bumbling
idiots kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wished that they would have not been that way.
Yeah, I feel you. Maybe taking it more seriously. Okay.
I don't think
seem
this
like they were
film
very,
needed to have comedic relief, or if they did, it needed to be actual funny stuff and not
or it's almost like
just cheap one-liners.
Like they didn't know where the movie was.
Yeah.
Like they didn't know if they were making like a comedy horror movie or like if they were making like a real horror movie.
Yeah, because if they would have leaned into the comedy aspect, then I would have appreciated.
It would have fit.
Yeah, it would have.
I
It would
agree
have
with you on
fit.
that. Yeah.
And then like how cheesy some of the like ghosts and stuff were. Like I would have appreciated it more. I think, but then
more camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they were definitely campy when the rest of this movie was like, there's kind of taking itself more serious tone.
Yeah. Yeah. Because this movie felt like it was trying to take itself seriously. But then it had moments where it was like also trying to be a different film. And I think that's what bothers me about it.
Okay. I feel you.
The most.
And so we have them explaining that Specs draws what Elise sees and hears, I guess, which quote unquote could be the most serious, or what's like he says something trying to make a joke, or
easily the most important part of her process.
Yeah,
and that's when Tucker's like,
whatever.
Arguably,
yeah,
like he was like, I could argue that my stuff is also super important, kind of thing.
But we have her in the room. She's looking in the corner of like the ceiling, whatever you call it, where all the points meet, and she's seeing something. And so that's whenever she starts to describe to Tucker, like, you know, very fast and just kind of in whispers, like, you know, he's got black
face,
his
arms and legs are black.
He has
hooves
for feet. Yeah,
long fingernails.
And I love how Renee is so like wanting to see that she like totally interrupts the process and is just like, let me see.
Yeah, I was like, Mom loses her chill and interrupts the whole drawing process. Also, sorry, she wasn't. This part cracked me up a bit because Elise wasn't being super descriptive.
No, not.
She was just like, his arms are black, his legs are black, his body is black.
Yeah.
His face is blood red. And it's like, and then all of a sudden somehow
he draws exactly what it kind of looks like.
It looks like. Yeah. And I was just like,
how do you know it wasn't like a blob?
She was not being very descriptive. And then at one point he was like, slow down. And I was like, boy, she's just said every part of him is black.
Yeah.
You don't just draw a black figure.
Yeah.
Like, what do you need her to slow down for? I don't know.
And so
it just made me laugh a bit.
And then we have her obviously, or him, drawing and coming up with what looks like, you know, the thing that we've seen so far, the Darth Maul looking creature. And so she ends up taking them to the room and she's like, I don't know if y'all are ready for this, but I'm gonna tell y'all anyways. And she's like, Dalton is not in a coma. He is lost. He is haunted and he is an astral projector and he is stuck in this place called the Further. A demon, basically, because he's in the Further, his body is a vessel and all these ghosts want to like get into him because they crave life. But unfortunately, those aren't the only things that have found him in the Further. There's a demon that now wants his body, and this demon only wants it because he wants to inflict pain on others.
Yeah.
And basically, and also Rose Byrne, the lady who plays Renee, acting for her life right now, because those tears look like real tears.
Yeah,
Mama.
no, she was probably my favorite actress in the favorite acting wise. Yeah, she did a good job of me believing that she was a
mother who was like just like
tormented
by her because what's happening to her kid, because like those were real tears, dude. And she's just like, and you can tell that she's like every word that Elise is like, she's like eating
hanging on it.
And while Josh is over here like, you know,
this bitch cuckoo
being skeptical
for Cocoa Puffs.
Literally. And so that's whenever he ends up now he loses his cool and he's like, y'all need to get out, like, you know, this is a bunch of hoopla shenanigans y'all are exploiting on.
She also says an insidious the demon has an insidious agenda, and I was like, roll credits.
We did it. And so, and he, you know, basically is saying that they're exploiting and they're just going to want money and like, that's horrible what they're doing. And I love how Elise is just like, Okay, I get it. Bye.
I get it.
Good luck. And she literally tells her good luck. She's
I was like,
good luck.
damn. I was like, well, don't be mean to the mom.
Yeah.
The mom was believing you.
It's so funny. And so, anyways, they're gone. It seems as though, like, okay, we turned down the only help that is, being presented. But we have Josh, who ends up going to Dalton's room. And he's kind of having this little chat with him. And he's like asking him, like, where'd you go? Like, you didn't go to the further. You're right here. But then he's asking, like, Dalton, like, please give me a sign or show me, like, where you're at. And this little picture falls off the wall. And perfect timing, because also too, I'm thinking to myself, y'all motherfuckers moved twice now and moved these pictures, and y'all didn't tell me y'all didn't look once at these pictures
ever. Yeah, that was a little hard for me to believe too.
Demons on these pictures,
because I was like,
and like
he basically drew the same exact figure that y'all saw in the picture already.
Yeah,
and then he has one picture of him sleeping, and it says, "Tonight I watched myself sleep, and then I flew away."
Yeah,
and that's what it takes for Josh to realize, like,
this is real.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I was like, you're telling me you never once looked at these photos
and thought, like,
and drawings
maybe I
on his wall?
Ask my child.
What do you mean by this?
Yeah, and also, why are you drawing demons, bah?
Yeah,
like, there some of them.
And
were
then,
a bit
like,
concerning.
he also drew the red door,
yeah,
and stuff. The red door was on there.
It was funny because not
the
demon having a vanity. Did you notice that in that one picture?
No.
It was like, it had a vanity. It was so funny, which we see later why. I guess this wasn't a maybe it was like his little macrame stuff, or I don't know, but funny. Anyways, I was like, not the demon being but
I could see that,
right?
With the house and stuff.
Why is he stealing a little boy?
Yeah,
it's giving predator. But anyways, we have him, obviously not believing, so he tells Renee, okay, like, and let's do it. So then we come to the next scene where we're having Elise over, Tucker, Specs, and it seems to be like a seance of some sort. It's like a communication ritual where she's trying to, she puts on this mask, this gas mask looking thing, connects it to Specs, who has headphones, and then,
which I thought was incredibly dumb.
It seems a bit much
outlandish,
when we already witnessed earlier that she could do that to him without having any of that on. Yeah. But she ends up going into the further and telling them, like, I'm going to try to make contact. She also tells them, like, look, I'll be upfront with y'all. If I don't make contact or talk with anybody, then, like, I'll tell you, like, I'm not. She's basically trying to be like, you can trust me. Like, we're gonna,
regardless, I'm going to be truthful with the outcome, but also be prepared for the outcome to not be good,
because it could
kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. It could be stuff you don't want to hear.
Yeah.
And so she finally makes contact with him after, like, calling out to him, and starts talking with him as Specs is writing out the interaction. And she's like asking, like, where he is, and he doesn't know. It's dark and he is scared,
and he says, like, there's no way out and stuff like that, because she was like, follow my voice, it'll help get you out or something. And he was like, there is no way out. And he's telling her to be quiet because he's like, they're gonna hear you. And it's funny how the man with fire on his face will hurt you.
Yeah. And then she's like, they're not gonna hear me, Dalton. And literally 2 seconds later, he's like, they heard you.
Yeah. And then she was like, oh, and then shit starts hitting the fan, basically.
Because they got that flashing light bulb that's supposed to let them know when, like, a spirit presence is
detected. Like either a temperature change, which is a thing that people actually do, or I guess if, like, bodily mass or something is detected. I don't know. Yeah.
Somehow these flashes detect it and they go off. So, like, the whole time it's basically like, close your eyes if you have any type of
sensitivity to light.
Yes, because it's going off, popping off, and then all of a sudden
flashing.
She starts to talk to not Dalton but the demon, and it's like, you bitch, I'm gonna rip your innards out, and I know who you are, and I'm gonna come for you. Situation.
I'm gonna come for you.
God. And so come on you, and then that's whenever we have her, like, shaking and convulsing basically with that mask on, and then it's the way that, like, we hear all this going on. The room, I think I don't know if there's a wind going on, I don't know, but
Supernatural forces are at work.
She ends up like basically passing out, I guess, a little bit, and they're all just kind of looking at her like, is she alive or not? Because even Specs like tries to touch her.
Yeah.
And that's whenever we hear the heart rate monitor just go beep, flatline, and then Dad is like, Dalton, and then Dalton just appears right next to them and starts to hit the table, and then they all like
he
fly
puts his
everywhere.
hand on the table and they all fly back, and then he flips the table and he's like, oh. And then other guy that was pacing outside the window shows up, and he comes and he's like licking Mom's face and shit.
Then we have, and one of my favorite parts in the whole movie is fucking Elise coming to, and then she's just like grabbing Dalton by the hair, and she's just like, leave this vessel. It's so funny because she's just like shaking this child.
And poor Dalton looked like he came through in some moments and was like, please stop.
Yeah, he was just like, ah. Yeah. And then she ends up, I guess, exorcising the demon out of him for the moment, I guess, or whatever. But it's a lot that happens. It's pretty what's the word for everybody, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And so we have Specs and Tucker talking in the truck, and he's telling him how like we got pictures of everything kind of thing. No, they're looking at the camera. That's right. And he's like looking at it frame by frame, and that's when he shows him that Dalton was like had the demon possessing him at the moment. Yeah, because
Specs got thrown against the wall and stuff, so he had raw meat on his face, which I'll never understand why people do that. But he was showing him the pictures frame by frame of the demon attached to Dalton, and then basically then Lorraine comes in and Josh is like, what the fuck's going on? And then Elise is like, yeah, I called your mom as soon as the seance was over because we've got some shit to tell you, Josh. You better sit down. And basically they explain that Josh was a gifted traveler as well, that what has happened to Dalton was passed down to him from his father, and that they basically had to block this from his memory and everything, and that throughout his childhood he would see this old lady, have dreams of this old lady and be kind of tormented by her, saying that she was coming after him. And then in all of his photos and stuff, we find out why he doesn't have any baby photos, because all of his younger photos of himself have this old lady that's getting closer and closer and closer and closer to him each time, up until the last photo is her basically reaching out and almost touching Josh.
Yeah. And so Elaine had advised her mom to like hypnotize him, make him forget about his ability, about the photos, and to not take his photo anymore.
Yeah.
So that way he would forget. And she's, they're looking at these pictures in this box, and it's starting to make sense, at least a little bit, but he still doesn't remember any of that. And so that's whenever they tell him that since he has the ability to, astral project and do what his son can do, he is the only one that can go in there, because Dalton is so stuck in the further that
he's gone too far.
He needs him to go in there to get him back.
Yeah.
He can't do it on his own. And so that's whenever Josh is kind of like, okay, I guess we're going to do that.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty...
what other choice do they have at this?
It's kind of like a last resort.
Yeah.
And so that's whenever Josh ends up sitting on the couch, and they're like, it's kind of basically like a hypnotherapy session almost, because she's got the metronome going. Pitch poke, yo me coke. And so she sets him down, and it's that, follow my voice. You're going to close your eyes, and you're going to pretend you're, she starts to lead him into the further. And it's
let my voice be your guide. Keep a steady stride into the further you go.
And he ends up
like a little rhyme.
Yeah, very Dr. Seuss. And he ends up like coming off the couch, and he's like, yeah, look, this doesn't work. I'm telling you, it's a waste of time. But then he notices like he is in the further.
I have no idea what I'm doing. Kind of thing. And then
but he is doing it.
Then he's like, okay, well, here we go. Once he realizes, and she says that let my voice be your guide sentence. And he grabs his lantern and heads out the front door and into this pitch black darkness. It's like you can't even, the light itself is like only lighting his face and nothing else really in front of him, until we see the figure of a kid rush by. And you think it's Dalton, at first, or at least I did.
I did too.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, he sees Dalton, but JK, he immediately runs away.
And he ends up seeing himself.
Yep. Turns out it was Josh as a child.
Also, how does that work?
Yeah.
What you see in the second one?
What if, has he been stuck in there the whole time?
No.
Oh.
But it's interesting now because because it proposed a lot of questions for me as I'm rewatching it. And then I was like, oh, wait, yeah, I remember that kind of gets a little answered in the second one.
Okay.
But yes, it's kind of like one of those like everything's cyclical.
Is
like,
Darth Maul in the second one?
No.
Good.
I'll
probably like it better then.
It's kind of like what's the word? Like everything that happens kind of thing. Like it's all like
It all has
I
tied
stopped
together.
myself. Yeah, like that child. Oh, like those movies where it's like
time isn't linear.
Yeah, and that thing happened, and it was really me doing it to myself back then, and that's why it happened, kind of situation. Anyways, yeah. So, he's led by little him to the old house that they used to live at. And he ends up walking in through the door. And this is when we get... Now, this to me was a bit like, why are we doing all this? Can we just... I don't know. But we have that family and, like, those ladies from the photos earlier that Tucker saw. And then, like, they're, like, smiling. And then he's watching, I guess, basically how, I guess, they died. One of the daughters killed the rest of the family. And then, I guess, killed herself. I don't know. Went crazy.
Whenever he first gets in the door, too, I wasn't paying attention. I was like kind of writing notes, and the old lady that like kind of goes past him by the door, and there's a big like sound. That jump scare kind of got me.
Yeah. And there was a few moments here where because he even goes upstairs and he just like hears that lady crying,
sees her in the corner,
and then she's gone, and then he ends up getting led up to the attic.
Yep. And he sees a child like move outside the room and stuff, and then and then he goes downstairs, sees that family,
like shoot them
and kills the family. Yeah.
And then he sees that this is where he sees the red door, right?
Yeah. After the family and everything, he gets up to the attic, sees the red door, and then all of a sudden that licky face guy pops up in front of the door and is attacking him.
Oh, that's right. And we can tell visibly that something's happening in the physical world, the real world, because his body's like convulsing and he's like making noises, gargling. And so Renee starts talking to him, is basically like, Josh, like you can do this, like listen to my voice, like we need to save our son. Dalton needs you. And so and then
Elise says, you're stronger than they are. You're alive. And so then he basically is like, get away from me, and then just yeets this guy into oblivion,
and is able to go through the door. And this is whenever we realize, I guess this is the door to the demon's lair, because everything in here is very like a demonic lair looking, very red,
the
candles.
It was like Phantom of the Opera,
very much so. And then he goes in there and we see that Dalton is like shackled to the floor, and it's like, so it's such a weird room because there's like a horse, there's like a bunch of different things,
which we see the horse was also in his drawings and stuff. So he had ventured into this room before and then lived to like was able to get back to his body in time. And then it was just this last time he wasn't.
It's giving that like I feel like he accidentally stumbled into the demon's lair, and then the demon took advantage of that and was like, well, I'll let you come here a few times and won't make myself noticeable, and then like trapped him kind of thing. I don't know. But Dalton's there. We have a little cute reunion, and then we see that the demon is like up in this like room that they can see from. I don't know what to call that, but
it's like a little loft.
Yeah, like a loft essentially, but like glassed
Honestly,
in
the
with
demon's
the window.
house was pretty cute. I was like, I'd decorate my house this way.
It's halfway there.
I know. It had all the marionette dolls and stuff. And
you can tell he's like, what was he like sewing stuff, or was he doing like making the dolls?
He was sharpening his claws.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, he was sharpening his fingers. He was going.
Yeah.
But it looked like a sewing machine.
Yeah,
it did look like a sewing machine, but it had a saw on it, and it was sharpening his like his fingers
metal,
were like metal claws. Yeah.
And so we have him doing that, and then Dalton. I love this. I love this line from Dalton when he's like, oh crap, Dad. Or what does he say? He's like, he's looking right
He's looking at us, yeah.
And we see the demon looking at them.
And he's like,
yeah.
His little snake tongue pops out.
He's like doing that. And then he just appears right next to the dad and then flings the dad. And then I love how we see his hoofs just like
clop, clop, clippity
coming
clop.
closer. And yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a fight, but not really, because
he kind of gets past Darth Maul really easily.
Yeah, and then just like sneaks out the back with Dalton, and now they're in the darkness, and they're trying to find their way back home. And this is whenever I believe Renee is calling out to them. And she's like, follow my voice.
Yeah, she's calling out to him, and he's like
able to get to the house that they're at now.
Because Dalton was like, "Daddy, I think that's Mommy calling for us." And
because
they
all
were
the
like
spirits,
getting surrounded.
all the spirits are coming around them, and then they make it to the house, but they have to go through the back door for some reason because I guess doors work in the spirit world. I don't know how that happens.
It was locked.
But they go in through the back door, and this is whenever he tells Dalton to like go to his body, like you go. But we see that Josh is confronted by something that we do not see at this point. But he's like, "Oh, it's you," or something like that, or not you again, essentially.
Yeah.
But
then stuff is happening in the physical world too.
Yeah.
While all this is happening, ghosties are coming out from everywhere. The hand reaches out of that dish towel cabinet that either Specs or Tucker was looking into. I think it was Specs.
It was Specs.
Yeah. And
then Tucker's like in another room and he's seeing ghosts, like, and he's just kind of backing up kind of situation.
And then all of a sudden ghosts are like coming down on this house. And then Dalton gets inside the house though, and basically is like being chased by this demon and almost gets caught by the demon.
Yeah, he grabs his foot from under the bed, but he's able to like get away.
And then he gets over the bed, and then the demon grabs him again and is like pulling him back, but thankfully he escapes. And then we get the demon like boom, 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 crawling on the wall.
Pretty scary.
Yeah.
And Dalton thankfully makes it back to his body, but not while all the crazy stuff is going on. But that's whenever he makes it back to his body. We see that the grandma and and Specs was in that bedroom with him, trying to like block the door. Elise was like, "Go check on Dalton," and they were like, "What?" And she was like, "Go check on Dalton," and they were like, "What?" And she was like, "Go fucking check on Dalton." It was Specs. Specs kept saying, "What?" Yeah. And I'm like, how many times she got to tell you? Damn.
Yeah.
He's like
just
right
go
there.
do it.
Yeah.
You heard what she said the first time.
Does she write your check? But anyways.
Yeah.
And so they do, and I think because they think like they're trying to keep the spirits from going into his bedroom, they're trying to like block the door with his dresser and stuff. But that's whenever Dalton comes to, and Lorraine's the first one to notice, and she like picks him up, and
And Josh has made it back to his body as well, but not before we see him looking through that window.
Yeah.
And
confronting the old lady.
And he was like, "You don't scare me anymore. Like, you can't have me, blah, blah, blah. This is over," and shit. And so then you think, okay, he got back inside and gets into his body.
You would think,
because he comes to, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, Dalton's alive,"
and everything seems like it's good now,
hunky-dory. We're all back, everyone's just living their lives.
Yeah,
Dalton's eating a shit ton of spaghetti because he's got to be so hungry.
I guess spaghetti is quick enough. I don't know. I was like, dang, they made that spaghetti real fast. That's all I gotta say. Maybe it was leftovers. You know what? Could have been leftovers.
Yeah.
But because it's all like, but anyways, yeah, because we have Lorraine, Renee, and Dalton. Then we have Specs and Tucker outside still like putting all the equipment up. And then that's whenever we have Miss Elise talking to Josh, and then they're having that conversation. And he hands her the camera or the photo. He hands her something.
He hands her back the photos, he's like, "I guess I don't need these anymore."
That's right. And that's when she notices something's off.
Yeah. I think was his hand.
It was the fingernails. It looked
old.
And so she was like, and so then she's like, "Yeah, and I'll just put these away." And then she digs and gets the camera out, and she takes a picture of him. And that's when he freaks out.
"You bitch! Why would you take a photo of me?"
I don't like that. Yeah. And then ends up like
choking her out.
And he's being really loud to the point where I was like, how
are y'all not running?
And how
up there?
Yeah, like how are Lorraine and Renee not hearing this? Because they kind of hear little like, But yeah, and he's just choking her to death. And then that's whenever Renee comes to check on Elise, but she's dead.
Yep, she's dead. She's been choked to death.
She's looking all over around the house. She's like, Josh, please, Josh, honey, I need you. And she can't find him anywhere. And that's whenever she goes back to the living room, picks up the camera, and notices that I don't know what she saw. I guess she did see the lady in black, but we get like a flashback of like what just happened minutes before where Leigh took the photo, and it was the lady in black in the photo instead of Josh. And then we hear him being like, honey. And then she just turns around and
he says, Renee, I'm right here. And grabs her shoulder, and then it rolls credits.
And she's like,
and then Insidious.
And then it's the end.
Yep, that's the end of that.
Yep.
2010 Insidious, directed by James Wan.
Yes.
I do have some fun facts.
Yeah, let's go there first.
Just let me get back to them. This film was shot in just 3 weeks, and it shows.
Wow. That's a really fast schedule time.
It is.
Shooting time.
The film was originally going to be named The Further, which would have made sense too.
Yeah.
I think that would have been a perfectly fine name as well. Insidious is also good. It probably has a better ring to it.
Yeah. More commercial, I feel like, than The Further. But yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
33 violins were used for the theme music. So, yeah, they use lots of strings. In 2015, there was an Insidious themed maze at Universal Studios Orlando for the annual event of Halloween Horror Nights. And the maze was based on the 3 Insidious films that were released at that time.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
That's kind of fun that they had Universal had that. I wouldn't mind going through that. That would have been cool. So this last one, I was talking with Mike. I asked his thoughts beforehand, what he thought of the Insidious movies. And he was like, is that the one where the guy jumps off the film? And I was like, Bagul?
Oh,
and I was
Sinister.
like, no, that's Sinister.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, okay.
Because he doesn't like those, right?
Yeah, I don't think he was the biggest fan of those. Yeah. And then he was like, this is the one. And I was like, it has Patrick Wilson in it. And he was like, oh, he was in it? And I was like, yeah, you know, like he also was in the Conjuring films. And he was like, The Conjuring. And he was like, that's the one with the red door, right? And I was like, nope, that's Insidious. Yeah. And he was like, I get all of those films, The Conjuring, Sinister.
I can see that.
All of them confused. And so James Wan, who directed both this film and Insidious Chapter 2 and The Conjuring and Conjuring 2, had The Conjuring in mind while directing the first Insidious movie. A number of coherent points can be spotted in both the first and the second Insidious movies, where he was thinking of
The Conjuring already. That's so crazy. Maybe he got a little ahead of himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, because he did create all of that, which is like kind of cool, but also I feel like suffers from now Mike being like, well, I get all of them confused because they all kind of have really the tonality of everything is kind of similar, and visuals can kind of be kind of like the same, especially with like their sense of like their cinematography.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I like The Conjuring a lot better though.
Yeah, I feel like it's Insidious
2.0 room to grow.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. There you go. I feel like that's definitely it. And I feel like I feel like Insidious kind of took a back, like
fell by the wayside.
Yeah. Damn, Kayla, I wasn't gonna say that. I just meant like took like a back
burner.
But yeah, kind of like they kind of were like, okay, we'll get to that later. But because they saw like The Conjuring had like, because then they became Annabelle and you know all the other things, the Nun, everything else that kind of branched out from that. I feel like they thought like, oh, okay, this is more doable. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I guess we can also blame Marvel for that because now everything wants to be a multiverse.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that. But anyways, yeah, I see that. Boo rating wise, I really did enjoy this movie when it first came out. And I think honestly, this time around, I kind of liked it even better than when I first watched it.
That's fair.
There's certain things where I was like, wow, I didn't pay attention to that back in the day. But I can definitely see, when even watching it now, where I was like, some of it feels, like you said, kind of like two movies trying to, like it was fighting for a genre, if that makes sense, or like a whatever. Because there were some moments where it was, I guess, especially more with Tucker and Specs and those kind of situations where it felt like they were being too cringy funny. If that makes sense, that to fit along with the movie. But especially when these parents are like distraught and they're just making jokes over here. Yeah. And because like, and even the parents could like, you picked up on their like, what are y'all talking about? What are y'all doing? Like, our life isn't a joke. Yeah. Thanks. And they're like bantering the whole time. Yeah. Like a little old married couple bickering. But yeah, I would say that I really enjoyed because I guess I like things that are more kind of like, oh, it's cool that he has like this witchy, almost astral projection power, and he can go into this other realm. It seems original, but like also mixing all the other elements of horror. I guess I was kind of, and also at that time, 2010, like right before that, I feel like especially the early 2000s and like horror was really kind of like, it didn't really have necessarily a big hold on like on media, I guess, you know what I mean? Because I feel like even now horror's made a comeback for sure. Oh yeah. But like back then, I feel like it kind of, it wasn't like the 80s. It was like rom-coms and stuff were like the big deal. Yeah. Like everybody, there was rom-coms all the time back in the day, and I feel like horror, this was kind of a segue into like people getting more into scary movies. I felt like yeah, with like The Haunting in Connecticut, I remember thinking that was a good comeback for horror. But that was like what, 06? Or was that 10? Was that 08? 08? Maybe like the precipice of all that. But I would have to give this a 3.5. 3.8. It's almost a 4 for me. A 3.8. 2009. So, okay. And in terms of story, in terms of the acting, I really grew to like the family. I thought it was a realistic family in a way. And I like how they introduced us to 2 kids just to take them away for half the movie. Especially, I asked that, and I was like, where the fuck happened to Foster? Where's Foster and Callie? And he was like, they're at Lorraine's house, right? But then Lorraine comes in to the picture, and I'm like, who the fuck's taking care of them? No, and I guess half the time they were supposed to be at school, but no, he mentioned it. He was like, child labor laws, Josh. I'm like, oh yeah, duh. Like, of course, yeah. Like the kids couldn't be in it like too much. Yeah, And I was like, oh, duh, that makes sense, I guess. But because they were so young. Still had kids who were like the main character in films and got around child labor laws. Like, did it to where they could only filmed so much, but they got a whole movie's worth of scenes out of them. Yeah, that's true. But that's what happens. I'm gonna give it a 3.8. Overall, I feel like it's the inception of a pretty good film series. Some nice, solid ideas. There were some points where I was generally had a little jumps. I wasn't saying, I'm not gonna say like I was terrified or anything of it really, but like how Bagul scared the fuck out of me with Sinister. Yeah. But Bagul was a scary monster. Very scary. His face creepy. And so I would give it the 3.8. Yeah. I think that's all. That's all I'll say. I'll let you have your take on it. This film was really hard for me to get through. Overall, I always say overall, it wasn't a terrible film. Okay, say how you feel, Caitlin. If you think it stinks, it stinks. It's not my favorite. To me, it just felt really cheap. I don't think, like, I had issues with, it just seemed like it had an identity crisis of a film. I just can't get past the character design for Darth Maul. Or whatever this it never got actors. A name, I don't think. Let me see. Demon. I'll look it up while you're talking. The demon. Couldn't really get past that. I think had it looked like anything else, I would have been able. It was kind of like the same thing for The Lady in Black. Okay. I couldn't get past that because they cast Daniel Radcliffe and they looked like Dementors. So it was like Harry Potter. Yeah, the whole time I was just like, get your wand out, Harry. Like, do something. I couldn't like get past that fact. It just looked too similar to another movie. And so I think that was my issue
with this one that I couldn't. I was just like, this is Darth Maul.
Yeah.
A poorly looks like somebody like I used to draw my brother's faces as a kid.
Yeah.
Like I would paint their faces just when we were bored, and I would paint him like the Crow a lot and stuff.
They're remaking that.
Yeah, I know. That's cool. I liked those films growing up. I think now
I've never seen The Crow. We owned it on VHS, but I never watched it.
I remember liking it. It's been years now since I've seen it, so it'd probably have a lot of nostalgic value for me though. But it looks like if I had decided to paint my brother's face like Darth Maul, that is what this demon looked like.
His name is so it's Lipstick Face Demon.
Oh, I did know that.
It's Lipstick Face.
I have heard that before. Lipstick Face Demon. Yeah. So maybe he's just a gay demon.
Yeah. He reminded me very much of him from Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah, I could see that. Him's character design a lot better though. Yeah, I don't know. I just couldn't really get past that. And then again, like I think I voiced my opinion well throughout the entirety of this recording as to why I dislike this film. I will say, like it was like more of an original concept with the astral projection and everything like that. And so I do like that fact. It was, a little bit earlier, and I think it did help. It's one of the ones that I feel like most people in our generation say like, oh, that movie terrified me. I'm so scared of it. I just wasn't one of those people. I wasn't scared of it. I was laughing at it, and I still laughed at it this morning while I was watching it. So to me, it just was like comical, and had it been in on the joke and been with it, like, and like made it be more camp, I would have probably enjoyed this film a lot more. But the fact that it was trying to take itself seriously while also being comical was a little, I don't know. And I feel like that's kind of how I feel about a lot of James Wan films.
Yeah, I
too.
can see that.
I feel like it is not the first movie of his that I've disliked.
I think that's his sense of style, maybe, in a sense.
Yeah. But then he does other things good and does them well, like The Conjuring.
Which doesn't necessarily have too much of like a levity to it. Like in a comedy sense, I think the only levity you get in those films is really just like when you see the kids playing together and you see like they're happy as a family. And
yeah,
I mean,
you get the sheriff.
The sheriff?
The sheriff and the banter with the gay tension that was between him and groovy disco man who was also hitting on the daughter.
Yeah. Okay.
So you get that.
But even then, it's not really that much.
No.
Which
and it was fitting for the film.
Yeah. And if they would have done that with this, it probably would have been better.
Yeah. But overall, for me, it just wasn't my favorite watch. And there was at one point when I paused the film, and because I just needed to go eat some food or something, and was like, holy fuck, I still have 51 minutes of this.
This is going to be tough.
I was like, God damn it. Yeah. But it was all right. And maybe like I appreciate more facts, like having talked through it with you a little bit, but it didn't change my mind on my overall feelings of this film. And, I definitely went in with a bias knowing that I disliked it. And yeah, I was hoping my opinion would change. I was really hoping it would, but to me, it's not the film for me. It's not the film for me.
So what would you rate it?
I don't know.
Caitlin, it's okay. You can give it a low rating. It's fine. It's your opinion. Your opinion's valid.
I think, what did I give The Devil Made Me Do It a 1.5?
I think that, or 1.8.
I think I enjoyed The Devil Made Me Do It more.
Even more? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even though I had a lot of issues with The Devil Made Me Do It. I'd be curious to watch that film again. No, I wouldn't. I don't want to watch it again.
It was pretty bad.
It was. I think 1.2.
1.2?
No.
That's fine.
No, that feels too low. It wasn't awful. I just don't like it. I'll give it a 1.8.
A 1.8?
Yeah.
And I gave it a
3.8.
3.8. So that brings it to a
2.
2, right? We'll just call it a 2. It'll get a 2.
Yeah.
Overall, a 2 boo rating from your BooBaes. And I mean, it's okay that like it didn't hit the spot for you, and that sometimes they just don't. And everybody has.
And maybe I'll like it more once I watch the second one and it fills in some of the holes a little bit.
I feel like you're about to hate the next 3 weeks.
No.
But I think maybe it will give you a different understanding, or I don't know. Because I mean, honestly, if Lipstick
Face Demon's not in it.
He's not in the second one. He will make a return for this one.
Well, hopefully they do a better job with his face makeup. No.
It's a little different, sure, but not really. No. No, it's kind of pretty much the same thing. But it's also I feel like the role is a bit meatier, so it's not as heavy with the like, because I feel like in this one we even mentioned it's like, wow, we defeated Lipstick Demon pretty easy.
Yeah.
But that's because Lipstick Demon holds a grudge. Let's just Lipstick don't forget. He don't forget. And so that's why there's a return 10 years later. But the newer one kind of, I think, also delves more into like the astral projection side of it and like the possession side of it than these do.
Cool.
Yeah. Because there's definitely more possessed time in the other one, the newer one. But anyways, we'll get there when we get there. But yeah. So
I think I might have a deeper appreciation for these films once I see that. So
a 2 from us, and then spoiler alert, we're going to be covering Insidious Chapter 2, and we're going to be covering Insidious Chapter 5. It's not called Chapter 5, but Insidious The Red Door, because that ties into the storyline where Insidious number 3 and number 4 are separate storylines that are prequels that tie into each other, that tell Elaine's side of the story and how she came into Elise's side of her story, and how she came into this world of like, you know, chasing ghosts and spirits. And so yeah, and also more on, it's just they do a really good job of telling different storylines, but it still ties in with the first one, and how she ends up knowing Josh's mom, Lorraine, and how she gets it tied with them. So cool. It all kind of circles in a bit. But yeah. Once again, we are in the lovely Rogue Media Network studio, where they take good care of us and have so many more podcasts other than ours, which you can check those out on roguemedianetwork.com.
That's right. Or you can listen to us and all those amazing podcasts on wherever you get your podcasts. But the biggest 2 platforms are
Apple
and also Spotify. And wherever you do listen, don't forget to
rate, review, like, and subscribe.
And then also word of mouth, tell your friends about us, because that is the only way we can get ahead in this world. And then, if you want to let us know your thoughts on Insidious, why you like the films, why you didn't like the films, and if you want your thoughts to be read on the podcast for Insidious Chapter 2 or The Red Door. You can reach out to us on our one social media platform, which is Instagram, and that is at
BooBaes Podcast, at BOOBAES Podcast, because we're your BooBaes, not your BooBabes.
That's right. And yeah, next time we'll be covering Insidious Chapter 2. So look forward to that. And until next time, you guys.
Bye, bays.
Bye, bays.
BooBaes.
And now, a word from our sponsors.